Hi everyone, welcome to Google Partners Connect, and may the 4th be with you. We're excited to have you here with us today. I'm Alex Rodriguez, an Associate Product Marketing Manager on the Google Partners team. We've got some great content lined up for you, and it's my pleasure to introduce our speakers for today, who will talk about how you can help grow your business online. And you can tweet at us using the hashtag #PartnersConnect. First, we'll hear from Aditi Manwani, a Project Marketing Manager here at Google, who's going to tell you about mobile consumer behavior and why micro-moments matter to your business. Then, digital media expert and AdWords evangelist Fred Valles will talk to us about the 10 ways to grow your business online and how you can capture some of these micro-moments. We hope you enjoy the content. Just remember that the Google partner in the room with you today is there to answer any questions that you have during or after the presentation. Enjoy.
Hi everyone, my name is Aditi Manwani and I'm a Product Marketing Manager at Google, focused on mobile consumer behavior and ad products. We all know mobile is extremely important in our lives today. And here at Google, we were trying to understand the moments in people's lives they're turning to mobile and digital. Through a mix of qualitative and quantitative research, we uncovered a new consumer behavior we're calling micro-moments. Today, I want to talk to you all about these micro-moments, what they are, how they're changing the rules for brands, and why they matter. Time spent on digital has eclipsed all other media, including TV. And when you unpack this growth of digital, all growth here on out is going to be coming from mobile. So much so that there's a new vocabulary invented for this, for the sensation we feel when we're without our mobile phones or data coverage. In fact, right now, my mobile phone's about 2 or 3 feet away from me, and it's a little too far. I'm feeling a little uncomfortable. Sometimes when I'm in a big group, I tell everyone to get up, unlock their phones, go to their photo app, and pass to the person to the left of them. And if I'm in a big group full of strangers, no one will do this. But if I ask someone, hey, can I use your desktop or laptop to check my email or print something out? They're like, sure, go for it. And this just goes to show how personal a mobile phone is to us. And it's not just penetrating our psyche, it's changing the way we behave, the way we live our lives. This is a friend's son who's having nomophobia. He's literally having a breakdown on a plane because there's no Wi-Fi. And this little boy represents our future customer. We need to be connected all the time. Take this often quoted stat that people check their phone 150 times per day. And pair that with another stat that people spend 177 minutes on their phone. We come up with a pretty fascinating reality when we couple these two stats. Mobile sessions that average a mere 1 minute and 10 seconds dozens and dozens of times per day. It's hard to believe there's time for anything else. This shows that people are no longer relying on these long sessions on their keyboards to make decisions. They're turning to a device and making decisions a lot faster today. And the driving force of this is the smartphone. So what are people doing? There's many, many moments. There's some moments when you're texting your spouse, checking the time, or catching up with friends. And while these moments are very important and useful to you as the user, it's not important for brands to be there. In fact, it could be a negative experience if you interrupt this personal moment. And because the consumer is in control, it's easy for them to ignore you if you interrupt their experience. But then there are these micro moments that really matter to businesses. And these are moments when we are looking for help to inform our choices and make decisions. For businesses, these are moments of intent, an open invitation to engage when we're looking for answers, discovering new things, and making decisions. And these are the moments you really have to be ready for. Moments like these.
Grinding sound when you turn the key?
specific moments that people are reflexively turning to their device to act on a need they have in this moment. And it is our job as marketers and business owners is to be there and helpful during these moments when consumers are most open based on a want or need. And I would argue that these moments are the most valuable because these are where preferences are being shaped and decisions are being made. I want you to meet Kathy. Kathy is part of a research project we have going on, where we're really trying to understand the moments in people's lives that they are turning to mobile. Today, I want to share with you Kathy's story and how it relates to your business. Kathy was out in her backyard one day with her husband, and she wanted to float in the pool. When she went to get her floats, she realized her two boys had roughed it up a little too much and they were not usable. So she does a quick search on her smartphone for full-body pool floats, and the results showed a bunch of different suppliers. But they were all kind of expensive, and she was not willing to wait a few days to get it shipped to her. Then she noticed Leslie's Pool Supplies, and they had given her a pretty reasonable price, and they were just down the street from her. So she decided to go visit the store. Consumers are looking for instant gratification because of the proliferation of smartphones. In this case, Kathy was not willing to wait for the shipping, but was rather go into the store and get the purchase right away. If you can provide consumers that instant gratification, you can win them over in that moment. One way to do this is to provide useful information prominently on your website and your ads, such as inventory in your local store, price, as well as phone number. Some people rather just talk to a real person. And if you can be there for that moment, it's really a difference between winning or losing a customer. So what I would suggest is anticipate the needs your consumers have and make sure that you're there. So now you're ready to be there in the moments. But the question is where to start. There are millions of moments out there. A good guiding principle is to really make sure you're there across the decision journey and not just when the consumer is ready to buy. I want to go through 4 key moment types that really represent the needs that people have. First, I want to know. This is kind of the research and exploring phase where people are not really ready to buy yet. You can really be there by providing useful information and maybe even inspirational content, but not the hard sell. Second, I want to go moments. These are moments when consumers want to visit a local business or buy a product at a local store. Being there is making sure your physical business is in the consideration set in the moment, just like Leslie's Pool Supply did with Kathy. Third, I want to do moments. These can happen before or after the purchase and can really help build loyalty and repeat customers. These are how-to moments when people are looking to get things done or try something new. And being there with the right content is key here. Lastly, I want to buy moments. These are huge, of course. I don't have to tell you that. These are moments where people know that they want to make a purchase, but they may be still making a decision of how or what to buy. You cannot assume that your consumers will seek you out. You have to be there with the relevant information to make sure you seal the deal. One of my favorite examples of a brand that has really identified a key moment for them and been there is Red Roof Inn. They really took into consideration context and intent of the consumer. Red Roof Inn realized that 90,000 passengers were being stranded every day at airports due to flight cancellations. So what they decided to do is track these flight cancellations in real time and trigger search ads every time this happened near airports that had Red Roof Inns. Essentially, their ad said, "Stranded? Need a place to stay? Come stay with us." And they beautifully captured the "I need a hotel ASAP" moment. And they saw great business results as well. A 60% increase in bookings in non-branded search campaigns. I want to leave you with 3 guiding principles of how to win micro moments. First, you have to be there. You have to show up. You need to identify the important micro moments your consumers are having and make sure your business is there when these moments occur. Consumers are not brand committed. In fact, 51% of consumers have discovered a new product or company by doing a search on their smartphones. Second, be useful. Deliver on consumers' needs by taking into consideration their intent and context. Connect them with the content they are looking for in the moment through your mobile website and ads. 73% of consumers have said regularly getting useful information from an advertiser is the single most important attribute when selecting a brand. Lastly, be accountable. 87% of consumers do research before even entering a store. It's really important to measure the full value of mobile and not just when the buy button has been clicked. Consumers seamlessly flow across devices on their route to conversion, and it's really important to measure all these touch points and not just the last click in order to really understand the value mobile is having on your business. Thank you so much for your time today. I'm now happy to pass it over to Fred Valais to talk a little bit more about how you can capture these micro moments. Thank you.
Thank you, Aditi. So my name is Frederic Valais, and I'm going to tell you some tips for how to put all of this into practice. Now, why am I the person here today to tell you what to do in online marketing? Well, a little bit over a decade ago, I decided to become a wedding photographer. And lucky for me, at the time, AdWords had just come out, so I was able to use online marketing to really grow my business, my small business. And I was so excited about online marketing that I decided to take a look and see if I could join Google, which I ended up doing. So then I spent a decade teaching people how to use online marketing, and eventually I left Google, and now I run a new small business. It's called Optimizer, and once again, we use online marketing to really successfully grow that. So what I want to share with you today is some of the techniques and some of the tips that I've learned over the past decade of doing this for myself for several businesses. So here's what I intend to cover with you for about the next 20 minutes or so. So there's a lot of content here, so why don't we jump straight into it. So I've told you why I'm here explaining all of this, but why are you here? Why did you come to this event? Well, you probably came because you know a lot of people do searches on Google. But did you know how many? So there's actually 40,000 searches happening on Google every single second. 40,000 a second, that's 1.2 trillion searches happening on Google every single year. And so these searches, they happen on desktop devices, they happen on tablets, on mobile phones, and people go to the Google search results page, but they also go to Google Maps, they might be using Gmail. So they're using a variety of Google products on a variety of different devices. And if you want to figure out for your business, well, how do you tap into these 40,000 searches that happen every single second? The easiest way to get started is really Google My Business, because Google My Business is going to be a way for you to tell Google that your business exists and give some details about it. So how does all of that work? Well, the first thing with Google My Business is you have to claim ownership over your business. Chances are Google already knows that your business exists. Google pulls in information from lots of different sources. So the easiest thing that you can do is go to Google Maps, do a search for your own business, and then on that page about your business, you're going to say, hey Google, I'm the owner of this business. And you can claim ownership of that. And then there's a simple verification process, because obviously Google doesn't want people claiming their competitors' businesses. That would be pretty interesting if that started happening. So they're going to give you a phone call, or they're going to send you a postcard, and through that you can verify that you're actually the owner of that business. Now, once you verify that ownership, you can do some cool stuff. You can start telling people about yourself. Why did you get into this business? Why are you passionate about this business? What kind of services do you provide? What kinds of products do you sell? Opening hours, what types of payments you accept, etc., etc. So lots of useful information that will ultimately help consumers make a decision about whether they want to come visit your business or maybe look at somebody else. Now, an interesting story too was through Google My Business, you can actually put the pin marker and tell Google where your business is specifically located. Now, there was this bowling alley. You know, bowling alleys tend to be in really big buildings, right? And Google had put the pin marker at the back door of that bowling alley. So all the customers were going to the wrong place, and then they had to walk around the building. And that wasn't really a great experience. So what this business did, the bowling alley, they said, well, hey, Google, this is actually the front door of our location. And as a result, people were more easily finding how to get into the building. And so the experience was getting better. And that's a very simple thing, but it's a pretty big deal, right? And that's something you can only do if you claim your Google My Business listing. So once you have that business listing, there's probably one of three things that you want people to do. You want them to come visit your website, you want them to come to your physical location, or you want them to call you. And whichever one of these three things you want to do, you can give Google the information that the consumer will need to make that connection to you. Now, a really interesting stat here is that half of all people who search for a local business actually go and visit it that same day, within the same day. And this is behavior on mobile devices. So let's talk about mobile a little bit. And we talked about this in the previous session, but mobile is growing like gangbusters. It's really, really big. Now, it's kind of funny to me because for the past 6 or 7 years, the news has always said, this is the year of mobile. And every year seems to be the year of mobile. And you know what? In the beginning, it didn't make sense, but now it does make sense to me. Every year is the year of mobile because mobile is now actually bigger than desktop. And what I'm showing you on the slide here is the number of searches that happen on different types of devices for Google. And this is data for the United States, but this applies to many other countries as well. And what you can see is that in the blue segment, the number of searches happening on desktop is actually shrinking. And that's interesting, right? Because if you as a business come into this and you say, hey, how can we have the top ranking on Google on a computer screen, on a desktop? Well, then you're actually playing in a shrinking segment of the market. So what you really have to be thinking about is, how do we win the game on mobile devices? And that's what the yellow area shows. So yellow is the number of searches happening on mobile devices. And then there's also a small portion, of course, happening on tablet. And to put this kind of into a real life example, but you know, in the beginning, when I started seeing some of these huge numbers of how many people were searching for some of the keywords that we were buying on mobile devices, it didn't quite make sense. But then I put myself in the shoes of the typical user. And the first thing I do when I get up in the morning is I pull out my phone and I might be thinking about doing some research. So, you know, I might actually be buying products before I've even gotten out of bed. A couple of weeks ago, I went to the post office to file my taxes. Like many of you probably, I was sort of doing this last minute. So here I am, April 18th, going to mail my taxes. And the line was pretty long at the post office. And every single person was on a smartphone, right? And so this is 20 minutes of people's time that they're just sitting there and they're on their mobile devices and they're having these micro moments and they're researching stuff. And it could be anything, you know, like the hair dryer that's broken, but some people are buying new houses, right? So some people are actually going to make major purchases based on some research that they're doing on their mobile devices. So if you're a realtor, for example, hey, what a great time for you to be found, because people are using mobile to such a high degree. Now, this is a little stat. They asked me not to share it, but I will anyway, because I think this is one of the coolest stats that I've ever heard. But so it is said that more people in the world have smartphones than toothbrushes. That's actually kind of a gross stat, right? But the good news that I take away from that is, if you have to talk to someone who doesn't own a toothbrush, rather than having to have that face-to-face experience, which is probably not going to be the most pleasant, you can actually call that person on their smartphone. But that's just another illustration of how big mobile currently is today and how much bigger it's going to get over time. Now, you know, all these people sitting there on their smartphones, let's remember that phones were invented to make phone calls. And if you as a business don't have a website yet, or you don't think your website is quite the greatest, you're still kind of working on it, well, you can actually buy ads where people can only call you. It's a special ad format that's called call-only ads. And here we have a quote from Jason, who's selling insurance, and he's basically saying that by getting people on the phone, he understands much better how far along that potential customer is in the decision process of buying insurance. And so he can value these calls differently, and he can actually set the right bids because he gets to talk to his prospective clients. So if calls really matter for your business, you have that as an option, so you can do call-only ads. Now, the other thing, like I said, maybe you don't have a website yet, maybe you're thinking about redesigning it, and there's actually 45% of businesses in the United States that don't have a website. So if you're in that boat, don't feel too bad, because you're not alone. But on the other hand, it's probably time for you to get an online presence, right, and have a website. Now, if you're going to start building this website, think mobile first. Here's a great case study from a company called PlusNet, and they have had a website for quite a long time. And like many companies that have had a website for a long time, they just knew that people had big desktops and big screens, big monitors. So they just kept adding more and more stuff to the website because all the space was available, right? It wasn't very difficult to just add onto that website. But what they started finding eventually was that people had a really hard time finding the information they were looking for on the website. And that was just on a computer. Now translate that experience to a mobile device, and people would literally sit there scrolling, and they couldn't find what they were looking for. So what they did, and what I recommend you all do, is have a mobile first experience when you build your website. And so one of the things you have to do is you have to understand, what do people care about the most when they come on a mobile device. And so one thing that you can use is Google Analytics. Google Analytics is a free product from Google, and it will tell you, depending on the device type, what is it that people predominantly search for, right? And then based on that, you can prioritize that information on the mobile device. And then the nice thing that happens next is, now you've got this great mobile website, and it actually translates quite well to the desktop experience. And you've probably seen websites like Inbox from Google. It's a variant of their Gmail product, and it's built with a mobile first notion. And so there's less information on it, but it actually looks just as good on a desktop as it does on a mobile device. So if you're able to use that sort of a strategy, it's really going to help you. And so in the case of PlusNet, you can see some amazing numbers where they actually started generating sales on mobile devices, but at the same time, they were also getting people to the correct thing that they were looking for 40% faster. And that's on the desktop. So even that mobile first approach helps you do better on desktop devices as well. Okay, and so the final thing here is something about putting your best foot forward, and that's showing customers what they can expect. So I told you that 50% of consumers, when they search on a mobile device, go to that business within a day. While that still leaves you 50% of people who don't go to that business, and they may have a variety of reasons. And again, Google Analytics is one way that will help you figure out why people maybe decided not to interact with your business. But another great way is to use Google Business View. And Google Business View can take imagery inside of your location. So say that you have a restaurant. Well, now you can actually show people what the inside of the restaurant looks like. People can do Street View to see the neighborhood, but now they can actually walk into your restaurant in a virtual way. So before they even come and visit in person, they'll have a good sense of what your business looks like. I have a friend, and unfortunately he went out of business. He wasn't using this product, but he spent $1 million building this beautiful, beautiful wine bar. But he didn't have the greatest location. He was behind a gas station. So what may have happened is people looked up his business and they said, oh great, there's a wine bar. And then they looked at the location and said, behind the gas station, that's probably not the classiest place of all, so we're not going to go visit that. Now, if he had done some imagery using Google Business View, people could have seen that $1 million that he put into the business actually made it really nice, and maybe more people would have come in. So definitely this is a great option to show people what your business is all about. Okay, so next let's talk about connecting at the moment of relevance. So you've got your Google My Business listing at this point, so you've told Google some basic information, but what about showing up when people do keyword searches on Google? Well, these are all moments of relevance. And in fact, here's a micro moment. This guy probably has a gotta go type moment and actually wishing that he could go somewhere. He's kind of stuck at this point in time. So chances are pretty good though, he's got a smartphone, and what is he gonna do? Well, he's going to look for a tow truck on that smartphone. And so based on that keyword, your business can show up to the consumer at the moment of relevance. And this is what Google has been doing for the longest time, is they connect the prospective client to the business that can address that person's needs. And the way that they make the connection is through the keyword. Right? The keyword connects these two. That's what creates these beautiful moments of relevance where you can potentially capture some new business and actually start growing your business. So this leads into being found on search pages. And I said the keyword is really important, and this is actually something the agency can help you with. The agency can tell you what kinds of keywords you should target through your AdWords accounts. Now, I was once working with an insurance company, and they had a big meeting. All of the senior executives were in the room to decide some keywords. And they said, we're going to focus on recreational vehicle insurance. What's recreational vehicle insurance? If I'm going shopping as a consumer, I'm buying boat insurance, RV insurance, motorcycle insurance. I'm not going to search for recreational vehicle insurance, right? So the important thing there is work with your agencies and put yourselves in the shoes of your prospective clients and figure out what it is that they are likely to look for. And so then as a result of buying these keywords through AdWords, your ads may show up above the organic results. Up until about a month ago, they would also show up on the right-hand side, but now Google has changed that. So you may have 4 ads at the top of the search results page and then some ads at the bottom of the search results pages as well. And what I've highlighted in this one is the fact that many of these ads are enhanced with ad extensions. So ad extensions are another great tip. This is actually a free component of AdWords. So you can no cost to you, you can enhance your AdWords ads with some additional information. And now consumers love information. Basically, information is what people use to make decisions. And the more information they have about your business, the more they understand about what you do, the better the chance they're going to come to you. So Google currently has 12 ad extensions, and we see that in many cases they have a 30% boost in click-through rate. So click-through rate is simply the number of clicks you get divided by the number of impressions you get. So in other words, what this is saying is, for the exact same effort that you would have done otherwise, no additional cost, the same keywords, you can get 30% more highly qualified leads. And in many cases, they're probably better qualified because the ad extension just told something about your business to that consumer. And so here's another example where a business really just uses these types of ad extensions to stand out. Now, your agencies may actually argue with me over the fact that there are 12 ad extensions, and that's because many Google partners get into betas. And so ask them after this call, say, are there any new ad extensions that Google hasn't publicly announced and which I'm not allowed to talk about here, but maybe your agency is in on that and they can actually put you in a beta of something brand new that would be a great way to drive consumers to your business. So that's ad extensions. Another way that I think is great for you to stand out is through video. So a video basically puts a face on your business. If you have a service business or some sort of a business where people are going to come and meet you face to face, or they're going to come into your store, well, wouldn't it be nice if you could show people ahead of time what you look like, how you talk, how you think about things. So here's a great example. This is a dentist in Palo Alto, and he's basically giving his take on Halloween candy. Right? So all the Halloween candy that I just ate, what's it going to do to my teeth? Actually, he's talking about what it does to kids' teeth, but what a great story, right? So if somebody was considering going to see this dentist, that's really going to raise the comfort level that that consumer has ahead of time. And so one study that was done by Unbounce basically says exactly that. It says if you have a video, if you put a face on your business, it raises the trust factor that people have. And keep in mind, you're probably not the only dentist in town. So the more that you can do in terms of ad extensions, having video, having better information in Google My Business, all of these things do add up, and eventually it makes you stand out and it makes you the choice, the primary choice of consumers who are looking for a new dentist. And then even if you've created these videos, keep in mind this doesn't cost anything to host. You can put them on YouTube completely free of charge, and 6 billion hours of video are being watched on YouTube every single month. So these are huge, huge numbers. So you got the free listing right there. If you decide you want to pay some money to promote that video, that's totally possible too. And Google has this great product, it's called TrueView, and it says you only have to pay if somebody actually watches the video. So if somebody starts watching the video but then doesn't finish it, you don't have to pay for it. So it's a really cost-effective way to again, grow your business by promoting it online. Okay, so now we've done a number of things to really get people to know that you exist, to connect you with consumers at the moment of relevance. So hopefully you've got a little bit of momentum going. How do you keep that momentum going even stronger, right? How do you build on top of that? Well, if you've signed up for Google My Business, you can start responding to online reviews. And online reviews are really, really important. Here this stat says that basically 70% of people look to online reviews as a great thing to influence their decision of who to work with. Now, nobody's going to have all perfect reviews. Nobody's perfect. If you get all 5-star reviews, actually that's probably a pretty sketchy sign. There's very few businesses, even the very best of them, that are always perfect to every consumer. So what's important for you is once you've taken control over the Google My Business listing, start responding to these reviews. So if you get a happy 5-star review, acknowledge it and say thank you. If somebody didn't have the best experience, again, acknowledge it. Don't fight it, right? Don't get combative, because that's just going to send the wrong signal to new prospective clients. But see if you can try to make it right. Say, hey, maybe sorry you didn't have the best experience at my restaurant. Next time you come in, appetizers on us or drinks on us, right? And then what happens is the new consumers who are still shopping for their options, they will look at these negative reviews and they will see that you took the time to respond in a very pleasant and professional manner, and that may actually increase the chances that they want to come and do business with you the next time. So take control over those reviews. Now, the other thing I want to talk about is We've talked about searches, we've talked about people going on Google Maps, but the reality is a lot of time spent on the internet is not on Google products necessarily. People go and they look at sports scores, they read the news, they do research. And the good news for you is Google has a way for you to connect with consumers at those moments as well. And this is through the Google Display Network. So more than 2 million websites are in this Google Display Network, and the targeting is very easy. There's many options that you have available, ranging from contextual. In contextual, Google says, let's go and find some pages that talk about concepts that are similar to what your business is about, and then we'll show the ad. Or you can do something like interest targeting. So if a consumer is known to be interested in financial services and they're reading a news story, even if that's not about finance, Google can still say, we know that that customer typically likes financial news. So they could show some finance related ads, right? Maybe a new stock trading platform. And then you can also do audience targeting, and we'll talk a little bit more about that in just a minute. Now, let me shift gears a little bit and get a bit more technical. So you all heard the example of red roof. I don't know if that resonated with people. Maybe some of you in the room thought, well, what red roof is doing in terms of targeting travelers when their planes get canceled, that's the type of stuff that big companies do, right? We can never do that because it's highly technical, it's probably really expensive. But I have news for you. Thanks to AdWords scripts, you can actually imagine doing something exactly like it for your business. So the key thing is going to be for you to figure out what is it that you want to automate, what are the signals, but the technology is actually not that hard anymore. So the classic example that we have is not about hotel rooms, but it's about the weather. If you have an ice cream shop, well, you probably sell more ice creams on days when it's sunny and warm. But if you also have a cappuccino machine and you sell hot chocolate, why not switch your ads when it starts to rain or when the temperature goes below a certain point, and at that point you highlight the fact that you have coffee and hot chocolate. And when it's nice and sunny, you show different ads that say we have gelato, we have ice cream, right? So you're basically using the weather as a signal to show the right ads at the right time. And what makes this possible, like I said, is AdWords scripts. In the past, you have to go through the AdWords API, and that was in fact a very difficult solution. You'd need engineers, you'd need server infrastructure, you'd probably take several days to get anything built. But nowadays with AdWords scripts, there's actually people who've published scripts that do this whole bidding by weather type thing fully automatically. So you can go and copy and paste this type of code and start running it for your businesses tomorrow. Your agencies are also experts in this, right? So this is the type of stuff where you want to communicate with them and say, wouldn't it be nice if we could use these outside factors to influence something that happens in our advertising? And so you as the business owner, you are the expert. You know, is it the stock market? Is it the weather? Is it which sports team is playing this weekend? What is it about the outside world that influences what happens with your ads? And then another simple example here, and this code is available completely free from Google, but if you do offline marketing, say you run ads in the newspaper, on the radio, on the television, well, you can maintain a Google spreadsheet, and in that spreadsheet, you just put what is the date that my ad is going to run, and what is my bid increase that I want to do. And this actually makes sense. So you have to make sure if you do offline marketing that you connect it to your online marketing. If you run expensive ads in the newspaper and you don't capture the demand that gets generated online, you're going to lose some business. And this is because consumers see something in the newspaper or they hear about it on the radio. Well, what's the next thing they do? They go and search for it, right? So you have to make sure these two are connected. Terrible story, but one time, big corporations spent $50 million on TV advertising. And they said, well, we spent enough on that. We're not going to spend any money on online. And so the next thing that happened is they were building awareness about a service category, and all the people were doing research, and they were finding all the competitors. So they basically spent $50 million to drive new business for competitors, and they weren't capturing the full slice of what they could have gotten. So this is an easy script that allows you to do that connection between online and offline. Okay, so this one is not relevant to everyone, but if you do sell products, keep in mind that 1 in 3 clicks on Google nowadays for retailers comes from product ads, from shopping ads. And these are not difficult to set up. All you have to do is you have to have a feed of all of your product inventory with certain characteristics. right? So what's the brand, what's the price, what's the discount, who's the manufacturer, et cetera, et cetera. You submit that to Google. It doesn't cost anything. And then you can also create a shopping campaign through AdWords. And that's where you can set bids and tell Google how much you're willing to spend for each of these clicks. So I'm just mentioning that. Talk to your agencies if you're in this boat where you sell products, because this is really a very quickly growing segment of traffic for retailers nowadays. Okay, number 9, reconnect with your prospects. Again, I said before, when it comes to reviews, nobody's perfect. When it comes to closing the deal, nobody's going to be perfect either. So all of these clicks that we're getting to our website, all of these phone calls we're getting, we're not closing 100% of that new business. So what can we do about that? Well, first of all, install Google Analytics, because this will tell you some of the potential reasons people are not converting. And then number 2, make sure you try to reconnect with those consumers. Through Google Analytics or through an AdWords pixel that builds a cookie list, you can retarget customers after they've come to your website and not purchased from you. So you could show them gentle reminders that say, hey, we know you came to our website a couple of days ago, you were looking for this type of product. Here's a reminder that maybe you should come back and actually finish that purchase, finish coming to our business. Now, the newer way and a very, very cool one, and I think one of the biggest trends for 2016 actually, is customer match. So nowadays, Google can take a list of email addresses and they can automatically build a cookie list based on that. And then you can start showing different ads and have different bids for people when they do searches. So that makes it much more easy, much more accessible to buy some keywords that may have been prohibitively expensive in the past, because now you know who's the consumer that's looking for this. So let's go back to this guy whose car was broken down. Well, if that person had come to your business to service their vehicle, you probably would have known that the car was on its last legs. You have that person's email address. So when they went searching for an oil change service, you could have shown them an ad that said, we'll change your oil, but do you know we also have a great inventory of used cars? Maybe you should come in and take a look at those, right? So now you can connect what you know in your business, in your CRM, the email addresses that you have, and you can connect that to your online advertising. It makes for some really, really powerful things that you can do, so definitely discuss that one with your agencies. And then when you have the discussion with the partner, make sure you think about targets. One of the most beautiful things about online marketing is it's highly measurable. For every click that you get, every dollar that you spend, you know what happened. You know if it turned into a conversion, into a phone call, into the consumer doing something that you wanted them to do. But you have to manage to reasonable targets. So you have to sit down with the agency and you have to say, this is the main goal that we have. Some people come to me and they say, well, I want to have a cost per acquisition that's less than $20 and I want my ad to show up in the number 1 position. Well, guess what? Those are not goals that are compatible. You have to choose one or the other. You have to tell your agency what is the most important, and then you have to stick with that goal for a while. So the agency will manage to it, and then you have to give them some time to get those numbers to work out the right way. So be reasonable about your goals and really understand the fundamentals too. So I just said cost per acquisition goal of $20. Well, there's some math behind that. You have to work on the math and figure out how many leads does it get for me to get a new customer? What is my average customer worth? And then how many clicks do I need to get one prospective customer, to get one lead? So all of these stages, you can see what is the conversion rate throughout that funnel, and that actually tells you the exact cost per acquisition that you can afford, and it also informs how much you can bid for every single click. Right? So that's the beauty of online advertising. There's a lot of numbers, there's a lot of math, but if you do the math right, you can actually make this a very ROI positive, return on investment positive proposition. Okay, and as far as tracking all of this, you do have to install a little bit of code. This is never pleasant. People don't like to go to their websites and install this code, but you have to do it if you want to be able to do all of the things I've talked about so far. You have a few options. You could use the Google Tag Manager, you could use Google Analytics, or you could use the native Google AdWords tracking pixel. And so based on that, the agency is going to get all the data and all of the insight about what's happening, where the conversions are coming from. Now, even if you care more about tracking phone calls rather than page visits, that used to be really hard. Nowadays, it's really easy. Google will give you a tracking number, and that tracking number automatically gets inserted into the ad. And then if that number gets called, Google knows exactly what was the keyword that was searched, and you get to say, okay, I spent this much money on the keyword, I got this many phone calls out of it. Okay, that's great, right? Because now you know, am I spending too much, too little, could I do more? And even if that customer decides to go to your website, Google can still insert the dynamic tracking number in that case. So even after they've clicked onto your website, Google can still do the dynamic insertion and you can still get all of these great metrics. So that's 10 tips from me. At the end of the day, I do recommend you partner with your agency because this is a fast moving industry. It changes all the time and that's what I love about it, right? I'm in this industry, but you have a business to run. So if you don't want to spend every single day of the rest of your lives learning what's going on, talk to your agencies, talk to your partners. This is what they do. They stay up and they will be able to tell you these are the new things that Google has done that really make sense for your business. And then finally, keep in mind, I've talked about numbers, I've talked about math, I've talked about technology, but this is still marketing. We're still trying to connect to consumers and that message may have to be emotional in some way. And so that's what marketers do, that's what agencies do. If you don't have that expertise, your agency partners are going to be great to help you with that. So thank you for spending some time with me this morning and good luck growing your businesses with online advertising.
Thanks, Fred. Well, that about wraps our broadcast up for today. Thank you so much for watching. We hope you learned valuable insights about how to succeed on the web. The Google Partner with You today is available to answer questions or help you get set up on some of these tools that you've learned about. Thanks so much for watching, and we'll see you next time.